So you have returned from exile, though I do not know why. You were always difficult to read, when you were tied to the Force, and even more when it was lost to you. But I can see the mark of the dark side upon your features. I know how this will end. But I will answer your questions, if only for some measure of peace. In exchange, I wish only the answer to one. Why have you done this to the Jedi? Was it revenge or something more? But you are. Whatever this threat is, it leaves echoes in the Force, wounds that do not heal. It is something we had never felt before, until you stood before us in judgment, and we exiled you. Not directly, perhaps, but it is something tied to you, something you had experienced and had survived. Some of us sought to understand you, to find you. It seems we succeeded, even though we thought you were lost to us. Now, as we hoped, you have returned, and you know nothing that could help us. Such irony. What I can tell you, I will. Yes, such bonds are a connection that can be formed at moments of crisis, or in the slow understanding that grows between master and apprentice. It is most common between two beings who are sensitive to the Force. It allows the transmission of feelings, of influence. It was something you were gifted with, as I recall, before your fall. You formed such attachments easier than most, even to those who could feel the Force only faintly. Even Vrook could not ignore it, which is saying something. That is most unusual and unnatural. I have never heard of a bond of such strength. There were a few within the Order who knew more than I did of such bonds, but their students were few, lost in the Mandalorian Wars. I do not know. A bond between two living beings is not something easily broken. It is not a choice. It is like breaking a feeling, like turning away from the Force. To break a bond, your feelings would have to change, or one of you would have to die. But even then, the bond wouldn't go away. It would simply be empty, a wound. One of you would have to die, but even then, the bond wouldn't go away. It would simply be empty, a wound. Very well. Is that what you think? We did no such thing, but it is a technique that has been used as punishment in the past, yes. It is a rare sentence, and to my knowledge it has only been done once, at a moment where a Jedi discipline has failed. What caused your loss, I fear, was different. I am not certain I understand it. We did not understand it fully then, and only recently do I feel we may have become enlightened. The other masters may have more knowledge of this, but I do not, and I do not know if they even live. Does it matter? It seems your power has returned. Perhaps the loss was not a loss at all. Very well. We told you it was because you followed Revan to war, but you ask because you are not certain of that answer, nor were we. The day we cast you out, that is the moment I decided to leave the Order, because I do not believe we truly faced the reasons you were exiled, and if we do not examine such truths, then we are already lost. I think it was because we were afraid. It is a difficult thing to live one's life with the Force, To see a vision of what it would be like to be severed from it, it is more frightening than you know. Very well. It is a long story, but there is no harm in you knowing. And someone should know. Only a handful of us remained after the Jedi Civil War, barely 100 in number. Then, even that 100 began to vanish, in places where the Force seemed blind. The only pattern we determined is that when Jedi gathered, they were seen no more. At the last Jedi conclave on the Miraluka world of KotOR, the entire planet was wiped out, an entire race destroyed, because the Jedi chose to gather there. It was only then that we realized we were facing something far more powerful than we knew how to fight. We could not allow the fact that when we gathered, we placed everything around us at risk. A Jedi's life is sacrifice, but we cannot allow our presence or actions to endanger others. And we cannot fight an enemy that will not reveal itself. But any Jedi, anyone who is strong in the Force, who attempted to track down such a threat, vanished without a trace. It does, but you must step back to see it. Whatever this threat was, it was targeting us and everything around us. Yet it was somehow weak enough that it was afraid to confront us openly. If it believed us defeated, then perhaps it would finally show itself. It was a faint hope, but it was the best we had. It was KotOR's plan. He was always the greatest tactician among us, and had seen war more than the rest of us. Very well. They have scattered, but there is purpose in their movements. It is both to hunt and draw out our enemies. Somehow, we, are being targeted through the Force, and when Jedi gather, we are vulnerable. So we have chosen places where it is difficult to sense others through the Force, whether on planets dense with life, or touched by war. In such places, we may conceal ourselves, gather information, without presenting ourselves as targets. It was part of KotOR's plan. Yes, he felt if our enemy cannot detect us, then perhaps they would believe themselves victorious and show themselves. And we knew that the war would be lost if we continued to act as we had. So if you hoped to pry their whereabouts from me, you will be wasting your time. Even if I knew how to find them, I would not tell you.
You have him on the defensive. He uses the sheen form. Study his movements carefully and try to emulate them. This form will be useful when you face multiple opponents or ranged attack. Sheen also allows you to make more devastating critical attacks.
If you think to learn anything from my death, then you are wrong. If battle is the only thing you yet learn from me, then that is the only victory this day. What are you waiting for? So, it is as KotOR feared. You have taken what you have learned of the Jedi and used that knowledge against us. Come, that form is still new to you. Let us see if you have the years to back it up.
It is something the Sith, the assassins that stalk us, can do. It is of the dark side, the ability to feed on life, the Force. The closer one comes to it, it makes them stronger for a time. Not all techniques in the Force are learned through practice and training. This is something instinctual, born from experience. It is a way that they fill the hollow places where the Force used to be. Ask, and I will answer. Very well. What is it that drives you? Ah, and what did you wish to know of Revan? Fall. Ah, Already you presume much. You were there at Malachor. Revan's choices were always his own. It was not teaching or circumstance or example, it was him. Is that what he was? Or was he always true to himself, no matter what personality he wore? And there is something that the Council may never understand, that perhaps Revan never fell. The difference between a fall and a sacrifice is sometimes difficult, but I feel that Revan understood that difference more than anyone knew. The galaxy would have fallen if Revan had not gone to war. Perhaps he became the Dark Lord out of necessity, to prevent a greater evil. I do not believe the Jedi Council changed Revan, as they claimed. They merely stripped away the surface and allowed the true self to emerge again, someone who was willing to wage war to save others. But that is my belief, since I knew Revan from long ago, as a master knows their apprentice. Ask, and I will answer. Yes. Have you come with questions? The Jedi practice many forms, many styles of lightsaber combat. It is good to know them, but not to rely on them. You may have already felt the Shicho. The simplest of the forms return to you as your skill and perceptions have returned. Others may come with time, with experience. An aggressive technique, but it is powerful, effective. It can counter blaster weapons and add to the damage of your critical. Others may come with time, with experience.